for circuit judge, we have Maria Rule. Thank you. Okay. All right, so that, anybody else that I might have missed? Okay. Real quick, we're gonna dive right into this fast, but just want to let you know we have the green light from Sarasota County Parks and Recreation. We are going forward with the historic Nokomis Festival. It will be in March of 2019, and the goal is to bring the community together, let them see a lot of the services that Sarasota County provides to each of us. Also, we're going to have more of a historic perspective on Nokomis. John McCarthy, if you know John McCarthy, he's a local historian. He'll be doing lectures in this room for that. We hope to have a blood drive going on, and the main purpose is to raise money for underprivileged kids here in the Laurel Nokomis community for them to attend Sarasota County Summer Camp next summer. And we just found out that this summer there are 4,000 children participating in Sarasota County camp programs. So really, really positive and successful. We just feel like that if we as a community can do more to help get these kids a pathway to some structure and not fall off the other side and get into a little more trouble, we'll be better served and we'll have better kids for our community. But that's going forward. And also, if anybody would like to volunteer, talk to me. We've got plenty of things to do. Also, coming up real quick on, on August the 13th, Kona will be doing a District 4 for County Commission, another debate forum for you to get to know. So if you didn't get enough for tonight, because we have Al Mayo, that's the incumbent for District 4 seat, he elected not to be here tonight. So, but we left a seat for him in case he wanted to show up. But he's been invited for that as well. So, but you've got Wesley Baggs, Mike Cosentino, Al Mayo, and Lourdes Ramirez that are scheduled, that have been invited. Also, I want to mention this. You might think that, granted, it's at Halloween, late October, the 6th annual Haunted Trails at Oscar Shear Park. Tickets are going on sale September 3rd. This is always a sellout. I promise you, if you wait until the middle of October to want to go, probably not going to be, you'll have to find something else to do. But there's more information if you want to do, if you're interested in that, but that's always really popular there. Okay, and then Vicki, if you could bring me the raffles. We're going to do this at the beginning, just to, but Paradise Grill, everybody knows Paradise Grill at Laurel Road and US 41 in the Publix Plaza. Mary Beth Hanson is the owner there, and she has been a tremendous asset for the Nokomis community. And every time I have needed something for NACA or for the community, she's always raised her hand, she's ready to go. And so for tonight, we are going to raffle off a gift certificate for Paradise Grill. Greg Stubby, if you will reach in and pick a winner for us, please. Okay, ticket number 662530. Okay. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, so for tonight's agenda, each of the candidates, they were given questions ahead of time. This is always kind of our format. We always feel like that this allows each of these candidates to give some time and some thought, and just not talking points, but it allows you to learn more about these individuals. And it's always been a very civil format, and we always encourage that. You know, we're not looking to get ugly. It's not. We want nice ladies and gentlemen, and that's what we expect. And as we do the introductions, each candidate will get 3 minutes to introduce themselves, and it's kind of wide open for where they want to go. I mean, the only thing that I ask of the Board of County Commission is if they would state how long they've been a resident of Sarasota County and their record of community service. And other than that, but we're going to start with the gentleman here to my right, and I'm going to first call on Greg Stewart, please.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for having us here today. We only have 3 minutes, so I'll just briefly tell you about my background and who I am and why I'm running, if I can get through that in 3 minutes. But my family's been in Sarasota County for 4 generations. My great-grandfather retired here. My grandfather started his printing company up off Cattleman Road. My dad's first job as a law enforcement officer was at Longboat Key Police Department, and later he ascended to become the sheriff of Manatee County. And I grew up in this area, and early on had a background in agriculture. I actually got involved in the cattle industry and thought that was something I wanted to do long term. So I was in 4-H and FFA in high school, and that'll become important later when I tell you about the district. And then I went to the University of Florida, got a bachelor's degree in beef cattle science. Most people didn't think you could get a degree in beef cattle science, but I went to the University of Florida, got a degree in beef cattle science with a minor in agricultural law. And it was at that point in my undergraduate studies that I got my start in politics. I had the opportunity to be a part of the Florida Cattlemen's Association and lobby the legislature, and had an opportunity to intern in U.S. Congress as a young undergrad at the College of Agriculture at UF. So I decided to go to law school. I don't think all legislators should be lawyers, but I thought it would be a good background to have as a legislator to understand the laws that we put into place. So I went to law school at the University of Florida, and my first semester of law school was when September 11th occurred. And as many of you as Americans, that was a big day in the history of our country. And I felt moved and motivated to serve my country. So I actually graduated law school early, enlisted in the United States Army. I spent about 1.5 years in the infantry branch, transferred from the infantry branch to JAG, served with the 25th Infantry Division in service of our country in Operation Iraqi Freedom. I deployed 06 to 07 in service of our country. But I always had that political bug kind of itching me. So I came back from active duty 08. Ran for the State House, got elected in 2010, which was Southern Hillsborough County, East Manatee County, and East Sarasota County. And then in 2016, had the opportunity, I feel like deja vu 2 years ago, being here in the Senate race, I had the opportunity to run for the State Senate, which was all of Sarasota County and the western portion of Charlotte County, and have the honor to represent you, all of Sarasota County, in the State Senate. All those years I've worked on things that I think we need to do in Washington. In the 8 years that I've been in the legislature, we've cut $10 billion in taxes. We've put $3 billion in reserves. We've cut over 5,000 regulations. We have a AAA bond rating in the state of Florida because of the policies that the leadership, 30 seconds, because of the policy that the leadership's had in place in Tallahassee. And that's the kind of leadership that we need in Washington, D.C. Every single year that I've been in the state legislature, every single year we've balanced our budget. Wouldn't it be nice if Washington, D.C. balanced their budget every single year? And instead of taxing us more and more and spending more and more, looking for us as taxpayers and trying to cut the spending that we have at the federal level. So I want to take the conservative principles that I've had and I've worked for at the state level for the 8 years that I've represented Sarasota County and the state legislature, and I want to take that to Washington, D.C. So thank you very much for having us.
Well, thank you, Mecca. Thank you, Bill, for putting all this together. This is a great stop in the campaign trail every year. And I'm always pleasantly surprised of the attendance and the enthusiasm that you all bring to this event. So anyway, my name is Dr. Julio Gonzalez, and I'm running for Congress. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I practice in Venice. I've been in this area since 2004. Kind of losing track of time now. I think it's 14 years. And I got to tell you, about 6 years ago, I made a decision. And it had to do with where I could best serve my community. My whole life has been devoted to service to others. It's something that was taught to me in high school, which is, how do you best serve your community and make yourself the best possible asset for those around you. And I was looking at the national scene in politics, and I think you all will agree with me when you look at it and you realize, my goodness, it's so destructive right now. There's so much hyper-partisanship, and there's so little cooperation. It just feels that people are just delivering their talking points and fighting and shouting over everybody else's voices. And I thought that the solution was that, and part of the problem is that we're not sending folks who are best qualified in the community to go serve in Congress. We're not serving people who are going to analyze the situations objectively and come to solutions. We're not sending people who have unique qualities and a unique background. And I looked at myself and I realized that I was one of those folks. I was one of those folks who have the unique background. I am an orthopedic surgeon. I have been practicing medicine, taking care of people one-on-one for my whole adult life. I'm a veteran. I served on the America, rolled around on an aircraft carrier for 8 months at a time once, and another time for another 4 months, and was able to go all the way to Mogadishu and Saudi Arabia and really be involved in some of the important conflicts that we had at the time. But then something happened. I saw the attack and the assault that was taking place on our healthcare, and I ended up advocating for it. And as I advocated for it, I realized that I needed more information to be able to really solve these problems, attack these problems. I went to law school, became a lawyer. So I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a veteran. And then when that fateful day, as I was looking at myself in the mirror, trying to figure out whether I had something really positive to add, I said that I did. I realized that I did. And so I ran for State House. So the same question is now popping before me, and except that instead of being state rep, it's Congress. And to me, the answer is yes. And I hope that when you finish analyzing my candidacy, you too will agree. Thank you very much.
Bill Aikens.
Thank you, and it's an honor to be here tonight. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Bill Aikens, and I live in Port Charlotte. And unlike my opponents, I'm not a native Floridian. I moved here about 10 years ago. And like my opponents, I'm not an attorney. And you know, we look now to Congress, and what do we have? 80% attorneys with all this experience. Where are we? We need to send people up there that are like us, that are one of you. You know, I've had businesses, I've had successful businesses, and I've had failures. The reason I got into this was because our incumbent absolutely deserted the veterans. And I am a veteran. I spent 4 years in Vietnam, in combat most of the time, and been involved with all these different veterans groups, and we were deserted. The guy sat on the House Subcommittee for Veterans Affairs and just let it go down the tubes. And then I started talking to people in other areas of the district, and everyone was pretty well upset. So I decided back in October to run against an incumbent. Nobody would run against him. Well, in January, he bailed out. And I'm stuck with these guys. And I say that in jest. We have a unique relationship. But I want to go work for you. I'm not going to work for special interest and Big Sugar and, you know, New York City doctors who pay $1,000 a plate for fundraising. I'm going to work for you. I've not taken one dime out of this district, not from any corporations. That's why I'm the low guy in the totem pole. You know, I'm not taking all that big money from corporations and special interests, because I don't care what they want. I want to know what you want. And that's why I'm here. I'm a Christian, I'm a conservative, I'm anti-abortion, we got to get taxes lowered. We cannot increase the debt ceiling anymore. We got to get it lowered. Our great-grandchildren are going to be in a real world of hurt if we don't do something now. We've got to start knocking that thing down now. We've got to support President Trump on his agenda on immigration. You know, we've just got to get those things done. Build the wall as big and ugly as Nancy Pelosi can stand. But we've got to get those things done. And I stole that from Dr. Gonzalez. So, but anyway, That's why I want to go. I want to go to work for you. And everyone's needs are going to be different. Every part of the district is going to be different. You know, I worked on cattle ranches when I was in high school. Every summer I would go out there on cattle ranches and family farms. So I'm familiar with agriculture. You know, maybe not as much as Mr. Stubbe, but I've got an idea what's going on. But I'm going to work for you and the people, not the special interest. And August 28th, I would hope that you would consider me, and feel free to give me a call anytime you like. Thank you.
Okay, to my chair right here, to my immediate left, we have Christian Ziegler and Al Mayo that elected not to be here for you tonight, but we just left it up there for you to recognize that. So we're going to move right down to the next chair, to Lourdes Ramirez.
Good evening. My name is Lourdes Ramirez, and I'm running for Sarasota County Commission. I moved to Sarasota in 1999, so almost 20 years ago, and almost immediately I started to see changes I didn't like. In my neighborhood, small regular houses were being torn down, and 2 mega houses were going up. So much so with lot line to lot line, and then we started seeing increasing of flooding. Cars couldn't park in the driveway, didn't have enough room, so they were parked all over the place. And I mean, there was no green space. They were doing picnics in their driveway. It was getting very ridiculous. So I decided to become more involved in the community, learn the zoning code. So I joined the CSE Association. I was on that board for 9 years, 5 as its president. And after that, I went to Kona, and I became president of the Council of Neighborhood Associations for a few years while we worked on countywide issues. But then I realized quickly that in order for us to make change, we would need to be involved in politics. So I got involved in both partisan and nonpartisan groups. I was on the board of the League of Women Voters for a couple of years, but I also joined the Republican Club, and I'm currently the president of the Women's Republican Club. Now, the whole thing for me was, how are we growing as a community? I'm not anti-development. Growth can be a good thing, but just not at any cost. And there are 3 costs to development. The financial cost, because a lot of people don't realize when all these new developments are being approved, the taxes it generates does not cover the infrastructure that it needs. So for every dollar that we get in revenue for taxes on these new developments, it costs the government $1.53. So we are subsidizing all these new developments, including the 30,000 homes that got approved over the past 5 years. So there's the financial cost of growth. The second thing is the human cost. Who hasn't been stuck in traffic? I mean, even when it's not season. So that is a problem we have to face, and we're facing constantly. Bad roads, bad infrastructure, and also reduction of government services, because we don't have as much, library hours, for example, or I think our natural parks have been neglected. And the third cost is, of course, a cost of our brand. People in Manatee County like to call themselves Sarasotans because we have a reputation. I mean, if you think of different cities, you think of Detroit, you have an image. You think of Sarasota, you have an image. Well, instead of growing that image, I think our image is eroding because of the problems we have with our quality of life is being threatened by overdevelopment, by traffic, and by the problems we're having with our natural resources. So I'm running for County Commission to represent you and not the developers. And I think it's important that we have more citizen input. Thank you.
Alexandra,
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. My name is Alexandra To tell you a little bit about me, I grew up in Ohio, and when I was 21 years old, I decided I was just going to pick up and move to Florida because everybody from Ohio ended up here anyway. I figured I might as well get a head start. So I lived in Florida for a number of years, and then I got married and I went overseas and I lived in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia for 3 years. And then when I came back to Florida, I had one young son and another baby on the way, and I decided that Sarasota was where I wanted to raise my family. So I raised my 2 boys here, and I've lived in Sarasota now for 23 years. During that time, I've been involved with a lot of things. When I first was here, I started a youth mentoring business where I ran summer camps and a variety of programs for young girls. I believe very strongly in youth mentoring, and I continue to be a youth mentor to this day, reaching out to a variety of high school students and college students in our community. As far as why I'm running for county commissioner, everybody always wonders what makes you take that leap off of the cliff. You know, I've been involved in this community for a long time. I've worked with a lot of not-for-profit organizations, and I've been involved with a variety of civic organizations, and also I've been involved with a lot of issues that are surrounding development. I attended some of the early meetings in 2002 with the Sierra Club when they were finalizing the 2050 plan, and I continue to pay attention to what was going on with development in our community. I was asked to be on the board for Control Growth, and I sat on the board as the East County expert. I know East County very well. I have studied the cattle ranching community here, and I was a student at New College. And while a student at New College, I actually did my thesis on the ethnobotany of Southwest Florida from Paleo-Indian times to the present. And so I happen to be an expert of some sort on environmental systems of Southwest Florida, not just looking at them on maps, but actually trekking through things like Corkscrew Swamp and a variety of other habitats, looking for different types of botanicals. I think that that's something that's really important, is for us to have somebody on the county commission that understands environmental systems, because we would all agree that our environmental systems here are under threat. As far as where I'm involved now, I'm currently the vice chair of the Commission on the Status of Women. I'm the chair of the Republican Liberty Caucus. I'm also a member of the Republican Executive Committee. And I'm running because I'm one of us. I'm one of us, and I've been involved with this community, so I'm not coming all Pollyanna to make changes. I know this community, and I know we can do better. Thank you.
Vice President.
Good evening. My 8th grade social sciences teacher was the daughter of famous tightrope walker Carl Linda. And I remember her telling us one day that her mom had warned them against playing in 41 because it was Thanksgiving weekend and a car might come by. Obviously, I think those times have changed a little. My name is Mike Cosentino. I was born and raised right here in Sarasota. My mom was a 1952 Sarasota High graduate. She delivered Meals on Wheels for 30 years, volunteered as a pharmacist at the Pines, and several other Sarasota organizations. My dad came here in 1948. He started Cosentino Construction, which I run today, in 1956. And they're examples of community service. Pretty much gave me the values that I have in trying to pursue that to this day. I was sitting there watching the TV, I'm sure like a lot of us, and sat there slack-jawed for a couple weeks after 9/11. I said, you know, if something else happens, I'm going to sit there and watch it on TV, I'm going to do something about it. So the next couple years later, Hurricane Charlie came through Arcadia, went out there in the middle of a building boom and, you know, patched people's roofs for several months. I was given the governor's Point of Light award for that. Lived in a tent in Mississippi for 3 months after Hurricane Katrina and got the president's Point of Light award for that. I saved the Turtle Beach campground on Siesta Key from becoming a parking lot. That took considerable time and energy. That was, and today it remains the only Gulfront campground on Siesta Key. For the last 2 years, actually I'm starting over financially at 54 because I've literally sold and invested all of the money that I had in a 2-year lawsuit against Sarasota for giving away $10 million worth of public property on Siesta Key. I don't know if you guys might have noticed that little sign I got in the back of my truck, but I've been pretty fired up about that for quite a while. And just seeing the way that the county runs roughshod over the public interest and over me in this lawsuit, they basically break the law for their campaign donating friends, and then they turn around and use the county attorney's office not to represent us, the people, but to represent them. And that's pretty much what's prompted my run for county commission. And I would really enjoy and look forward to the opportunity to serve each and every one of you in that capacity. Thank you for your time.
Ruta Juanari.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ruta Maria Gignari, and I'm running for Sarasota County Commissioner in District 2. Like many of you, I moved here from the north. I moved here from Boston. I was educated in a degree in finance and an MBA in Boston. Worked for Aetna US Healthcare, developing the eastern seaboard of the United States with hospital networks for the PPO and HMO side. I came down here and I opened up my own business 14 years ago, which is an international staffing company that employs veterans and places them overseas. But then with something also, I think something always happens to us. And what happened is 2 years ago, I co-founded a free medical clinic in Sarasota that provides health care to those who have no health care insurance. In doing so, what happened is I met with people on a daily basis who are struggling in this county, who are working 2-3 jobs, who can't make ends meet, who can't find affordable housing, who have to choose between health care, housing, and food on the table for their children. And that's really what sparked me to run. So I'm going to be fighting for the environment, obviously, because that drives our economy. I was endorsed today by the Sierra Club, which is a national organization for protection of wildlife. And I will be making sure that we have sustainable development. We all want development, we know it's coming, we all want friends to move here and live here, and that's not an issue really. We know that has to occur, but it has to be done systematically with infrastructure. And I think all of us are frustrated with infrastructure, whether you're living on Laurel Road, River Road, doesn't matter. When you have to go through the traffic and you're worried now if a hurricane comes, you're going to have a death trap of getting out, that's a concern to all of us. We have to make sure we have proper evacuation roads and proper infrastructure in our county. We also have to make sure we have security. We want to make sure that ambulances and EMS can get through roads, that we're not building out and not making it accessible. So these are some of the things that I'll be working for. Outside of starting the clinic, I also started a group called Women's Interfaith Network, which is now about 220 women strong, of all faiths and all diversity backgrounds. And I also worked on a Jenny Poe reconstruction project in Newtown for women. And recently I joined the Homeless to Home program in Northport. So for me, when I run, I don't run for myself, and I hate saying I'm running for office because I want to run for us and have the voice of all the people, not just myself, but all too often we get drowned out by somebody, whether it's a big interest group or someone else. So I just want to make sure that we have a voice. I have a very open door policy. Anyone can contact me day or night. I always respond to them. I feel like we all need to be out and about in our community and care about our community. So I look forward to you voting for me on November 6th. Thank you very much.
Got an empty chair, ma'am. There's if you'd like to chair, if you'd like to sit down, we've got plenty of empty seats. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And then Wesley Baggs.
Hello. So I know I'm a new face to quite a few of you, and I just want to start off by saying thank you for coming out, taking the time to listen to all these great candidates. There's a bunch of different ways you could be spending your time, so when you show up and listen to us go on, it means the world to us. My name is Wesley Baggs, and I filed to be your next Sarasota County Commissioner in District 4 because we currently have someone that is not listening and doesn't frankly care about what we have to say. And we see that with the Sheriff's Depot when there's a much better parcel on Knightsbridge and Rustic Road. They chose to put that there anyways, regardless of such an outpouring of the community's concerns. I am running to represent citizens of this county that value environmental protection, affordable housing, and sustainable development. And I will give you a little bit of background on myself. I am a native Floridian, like a lot of people up here. I was born and raised in Tampa, and I came down here to go to college. That was about 10 years ago. I graduated in political science, and I too wrote a thesis out of New College of Florida, though it was not ethnobotany. It was on foreign direct investment. Anyway, Lost my train of thought. I come from a very long line of Florida natives, but not just Florida natives, civic servants. My great-great-uncle actually founded, or was the first ever city manager of St. Pete, Florida, and my mom has spent 30 years at the VA up in Tampa, and she's currently the medical director of home care for our veterans. I have a long history of being very volunteer-oriented. When I graduated high school, I had almost 1,000 volunteer hours accrued. By the time I graduated new college, I nearly doubled that, and I worked primarily with high school students. I actually found